Hi there, this is Art and Such with my Rainbow Loom tutorial for Marty from Madagascar to go with the rest of my set. For this pattern, you're going to need some pink bands, black and white, a few gray. I'm going to be using a couple of pony beads and a black marker, permanent marker, to draw the pupils on. I'm going to be doing some of this on the hook, some of it on a monster tail. The main I'll be doing right at the end on a double loom, and all the rows need to be even for that. And for parts on the face and the hooves, I'll be using a standard loom with 3 rows in the middle offset. Now if you only have a double loom, you can separate it into 2 pieces and just use 3 for the first part. Or even leave the loom together and just use the first 3 of the rows. And if you don't have a monster tail, what you can do is take out the middle row of your loom and parts of the backing so that you've got a gap in the middle. I'll show you really quickly what that might look like. This one's on good. But yeah, if you wanted to take a piece out and move it down so that you've got a few rows, you can work between the rows. You just might have to adjust your counts a little. You're going to need a hook and holding hook, some C-clips, and I think that's about it. We should be ready to start now. So let me get my pattern up here. And the first thing for us to do is the hooves. So that part, if you want to make it really easy, you can just throw a couple of black bands onto your hook and start looming. For myself, I want them to be nice and tight and kind of geometric looking. So I'm going to go to the bottom of my loom, take a single band, black, stretch, twist, double it over, bring it from the second peg from the bottom on the center to the second peg from the bottom on the side. Repeat, coming to the side closest. Once from the second peg from the bottom on the side to the bottommost peg on the center. And one more time from the opposite side to mirror it. And we're gonna do a little cap band. So put a single over the bottom center peg, twist, put it over, twist, put it over, twist, put it over. You can do one more if you're feeling, no, that's a good tightness there. We've got to get our hook under the cap band. Find the next doubled over band here underneath. A little tricky to see because all the bands are the same color. Just going to hold up to the side, reach in, and return that doubled over band to the right. Reach in again and come to the far side. Then we'll go into one of the side ones, bring the band up through and to the second peg from the bottom in the middle, and repeat on the other side. Now you can loosen up the bands on the side and the bottom. I'm going to put my thumb on top of the second peg so that we don't lose that. And put your hook through the bands that are left and bring it up. And you get a nice thick looking hoof. Now as I said, if that's looking too hard, you can just wrap a couple of bands on and continue from there. So we are going to do a doubled over single white. Slide it through all of the bands on your hook. And we'll do that 2 more times. So doubled over single white, slide it through. And again, doubled over single white, slide it through. We're going to be doubling over a lot of bands for this pattern. And from here we're going to switch to black and have a single doubled over black. And another 2 doubled over whites, so here's 1 and 2, and back to black. The next one's going to be doubled over, and another white, and then we're going to take 2 black bands, put them on the hook and slide through. 2 white bands, 2 black, 2 white, and 2 black. Hold on. Let's see here. Black, white, black, white. Oh, one more set of whites after these. So we'll have black, white, black, white, black, white. Now your legs are going to end up being kind of wobbly. So if you don't like that, you can stick a paper clip or a thin wire through to give it more form. But this character's legs do tend to kind of flop out in different directions, so I decided to leave his limbs kind of rubbery. I'm going to start on the second leg. We'll make it the same way. Leg or limb, I guess. We've got front legs and back legs here. Double over those bands. So they're coming outwards and then back inwards. Cap off the center. 3, 4, 5. Now if this leg is getting in the way, you can always move it to another hook. If you only have the one hook, throw it on a bamboo skewer, or whatever else you might have handy. It doesn't have to be a hook, just something to hold it on. Any kind of stick really will do. I'm going to try and move through this all as quickly but clearly as I can, because this is a rather long project. Second foot, and I'll walk you through the colors again here. So we're going to have 3 doubled over single white. 1, 2, 3, 1 doubled over single black, 2 white, here's 1, and 2, doubled over single black, and another white, and then 2 black bands together. Two white bands, 2 black, and white, and black, and white. I suppose another thing, if you wanted to straighten out or flatten out the legs, you could try putting, like just stretching them out, or try putting a book on top of them, something heavy overnight. See if that gives it a little more structure, straightness, stability, whatnot. Okay, third limb, and then we'll have one more to go after this. Now I think in the end this whole project used up a little less than a full bag of white, and the same for the black. Oops. Here we go. And I'm pulling them off of the side. At any time that you feel the bands in your loom are feeling kind of tight, you can always pull off some of the lower bands if you've looped them in already. We'll need those 3 doubled over single whites. So here's 1 and 2. I'm starting with my most stretched out bands here before I start stretching the rest. And 3. Doubled over single black, white, white, black, and white. And then back to the double bands, or the 2 bands together. So we'll have 2 black. Well, it's going to be 3 sets of each, but alternating. So black, 2 together, 2 whites, black, white, black, and white. And last loom, I'll maybe tack a little bit less on this one, but I'll still do it for the camera here. If you miss anything, you can always go back and watch my first 3 iterations of this. And I'll tell you now that the tail is going to be similar to the legs. The limbs, that one's kind of stretchy. If you're having a hard time getting under that bottom center, you can pull the pieces out carefully as you're looping them, or turn your loom to a different angle to see them a little bit better. Sometimes it helps to just push the top bands down, or push some of the bands down to get a better view. Two, 3, 1, 2. The numbers I picked here are not completely random. I did try to space the stripes out so that they become more concentrated in certain areas. Took a little bit of playing around, but I like the configuration it ended up with. Back into those doubles, so 2 black, white, black, and white. I'm gonna make the tail as well. I would suggest, actually, I'm gonna move my limbs to another hook for now. I think I want to have this one free for our next part. But I was gonna say, just you might want to keep your limbs and your tail separate so that they don't get mixed up and end up in the wrong position. So if you've got a secondary hook, the next part you could do on a different piece. So we're going to start at the bottom the same way. The end of the tail will look like the end of the hoof, so we've got our doubled over singles coming down from the second pegs from the bottom of the loom, and then coming back in from the sides to the bottommost center peg. Cap it off. This is just like the parts we just did, but the last time you'll have to do this, so bear with it. We're almost through this part. Okay, loop it up. So over to the sides, and then back in towards the center. And we'll pop this onto the hook in a second. Okay, 3 doubled over single whites. As I said, this is going to look a lot like the legs for the first part, and then we'll change it just a little bit. 2 and 3. We've got black, a white, and we're gonna switch back and forth between black and white 10 times. So one black, the next one will be white, the third one will be black, fourth one will be white, fifth will be black, and the sixth will be white, seventh will be black, eighth is white, ninth is black, so let me have a double check here of my actual tail. Yeah. Alright, so this is what the tail is going to look like once it's on. And you can put that on the side. I'm going to put it onto the hook that has my legs on it, just because, as I said, I want to have this one free. And I believe from here, we are going to go onto my little monster tail here. So, let me make sure I've got this right for you. It's hard to see from my picture. But I believe we started with doubled over blacks. Just make sure. Okay, take a black single, twist it, double it over, pick any peg, put it on, twist it sideways and onto the next peg. Pretty sure this is what I did. And we'll repeat that going all the way around. The reason that we're double, and it just goes over the last peg that you used. The reason I'm doubling over is to make it nice and tight, and it'll cinch in the middle. And that way the back end pretty much is closed up by itself without having to do any extra steps there, like weaving it together. So each of these is being doubled over, placed onto the next peg, twisted, and put over the following peg. Okay, so that should be our first step. We're going to take our hook, come to the side, and you're going to go for the doubled over the two strands, the two pieces that you see on the bottom. Hook them out, up, and over. And the trick here is just going to make sure that you're getting the bottom two. So if they're kind of rolling over, if you can't tell which is the bottom, just push down in between. If it's totally not working, you may need to restart and just lay your bands more carefully so that you do have a distinctive bottom and top layer. But hopefully you've got to this point just fine. Push that down a little bit. I think our tail went on very next. So grab that tail. I'll transfer it back to this hook. I forgot how quickly we'd be needing it. And I'm going to put it onto two black bands. Or, we'll do two black bands, or you can do a doubled over single or two doubled over singles. I'm going to slide it through and stretch it across the middlemost pegs here, and then push the tail under, like inwards, so that it's going through. And then we're going to go to the outside, roll that up so that it's sitting on top, find the bottom two on the side and bring it over to secure the tail in. turn it around, find the bottom two on the other side, bring it over, push it down. Now we are going to go a little bit further from here, so we're going to start doing layers or rows. This is going to be for the body, and our next row is going to be all white bands, and we're going to be using just single bands. So you could start anywhere really. This is circular, so it comes back around. So take a single band and bring it across two side-by-side pegs, two adjacent pegs. Repeat for the next one, to the next one, and follow the whole way around. Now this is probably the part of this project that will take the longest, but it's not so terrible. You kind of get in a rhythm with it. So we've come all the way around. We've got a top layer of white, and I just really want to make sure I'm getting this all right for you. Good. Okay, take your hook, grab a peg, go to a peg, take the black bottom ones and bring them over the white. Don't let anything slip if you can help it. Push the white down a little bit, go to the next one, continue around, and I like to do these in a circular order so that I don't have to worry about missing anything. And push everything down. You can pull it by the tail, tug it by the tail, but it's just as well to push it down. We're gonna do, just check these off as we go through them so we don't lose place. The same thing with black for the next two rows. So here's one set of blacks going around. And this way, by doing two sets now, we're gonna thicken out the stripes. I suppose you could have thickened out that first white one more, but this is how I did it, and I like the way it came out, so I'm going to do it the same way again. And go under one of the pegs. So there, you can see what happens if it comes off. And the way we're going to problem solve this here is I'm going to find the white ones I just pulled over, bring them back, and put that black band back on where it was. So let's see here. This was here. This was here. Sorry for the delay. For what it's worth, this may very well happen to you, so it's good to see. All right, we're back in business. If it helps, you can, or if you're worried about that, you can put your finger on top of the peg until the bands are over, but that might get in your way more than and hinder more than help. I kind of put my finger right on the edge of it as I'm going. Let's turn this sideways a little more. I'm always moving to the edge there for some reason. So I put my thumb over, or my forefinger over, and then pull it over. Just have a couple more, making sure we're getting the bottom two. It's not so hard now, but you'll see on the next row when we've got two sets of the same color, you want to be careful that you're getting the bottom ones only. Push it down a little bit, and we'll repeat that again with black once more. Make sure you go all the way around before you start to loom. Again, we don't want to miss anything. This is our second row of black. Same one that's trying to slip off again. Caught it in time. And we're grabbing the bottom two. Just going right into the middle here. So just over the peg. Right behind the peg, you don't have to go any further. And I see two 2 bands left on each of the pegs, so we'll push that down a little bit. And there's the back of your tail. We're getting started. It's started nicely here. And we're going to put the back legs on. So the back legs are going to go, and these are all the same, so you can pick any two. Okay, so our tail's right in the middle. We're going to take the white bands from the hook and transfer them onto the first 2 side pegs. And when I say the first, means whichever way your monster tail is facing right now. It can be this way or this way. Whichever way it's facing, you're going to put it on the 2 furthest to the right. And we'll do the same thing opposite to that piece. So let me put it on and then I'll show you what it looks like. And it is important when you put on the next set of looms that they line up on those same pegs. But you'll see what I mean when we get there. We're gonna loom these in. So we move to the side without the tail. I'm gonna go to either side of the legs and bring those bottom black bands over and push down the white a little bit. And the same on the opposite side. And now the sort of tricky part, I think I'm going to wait just a little bit. I'll do a couple of rows and then pull it through. It just seems to work better that way. So we're going to do 2 more rows of white and just lay it down on top of what you have here already. See, it's a little bit thick, a little hard to get it on over by the legs, but just keep pushing it down. It'll get easier in a row or 2 here. And we're going to bring the bottom layers over. Push down as you go. Now if you've done monster tails, this kind of thing before, you're probably, or you might be starting to wonder and worry about what's going to happen to the legs when this starts to pile up. And that's going to dictate our next step here. So once these are all in, everything's kind of pushed down. I'm going to do something kind of funny here, but as I said, it seems to work. I'm going to go through the bottom and find the leg and put the hook kind of through it and pull it through. And just like that, our leg is now sticking out the bottom. And on the other side, put the tail out of the way, reach through from the bottom, find that leg and stick the hook inside, and give a gentle tug or 2 towards you. And you want to try to do it without stretching it out too much, but either way, you now have a tail and some legs. And we're going to continue on to the body here. So that was 1 white, and we're going to do, the next row is going to be white as well. We're having our thicker stripes happening now. All those lawnmowers out, you can tell what time of year it is. So it's nice and warm. Okay, let's bring the bottom layer over the top, push down as you go. It's a little hard to see what's what here, so let's separate these a little bit, and those are the 2 we want. Let me check off on my list that we've done those 2 whites. The next 2 are going to be all black, which I think means it's time for me to empty some new bands from into my little container here. And bring the white bands over. Push everything down, and another row of black. I'm trying to do, for the most part I did 2 rows of each color with a couple of exceptions here and there, but most of these will be done in groups of 2 because it gives you this wide stripe effect as opposed to the thin single row stripes. So if that's what you're seeing coming out, you might have only had 1 row there instead of the 2. And that's okay. It'll just, like I said, just make for a different effect. Can't really go wrong with making zebra stripes, unless you make them into spots. I was thinking I wanted to try for the Madagascar giraffe soon. I think his name is Melvin. Been a while since I've seen that. But I'm thinking I might do the giraffe soon, and if I do, it will probably look similar to this, at least in terms of the leg and the, well, in terms of the shape. The colors will be a little bit different because he is a spots rather than a stripes kind of guy. Okay, push those down a little bit. And that was our 2 rows of black. And we're going to have, the next 2 are going to be white and the next 2 are going to be black, and then we'll be ready for our next legs. We'll continue from there. So white. And I'll start to get them to recognize this pattern here. I'm sure you have by now already. Okay, wait. It does get to move a little bit faster the more you do of these, though. Bring the bottom layer over. Oops, that one went a little too far. And if something slips, don't panic. Take your time. You can probably bring it back to where it was. And if you have to go back a couple of rows and get the pieces kind of close to where they were, it's usually salvageable. I do remember one of the first times I used this tool, though, I do remember having a big project I ended up redoing from scratch because I could not find where my rows were starting. That was frustrating, but I mean, like I say, the more you do, the more you practice, the less that kind of thing happens. Okay, that's 2 white, I do believe. And back to black. Next 2. That is one thing I like about Rainbow Loom is you can always go back. You can always redo. If you're, something that involves painting or cutting, those mistakes can be a little bit trickier to fix up, because with some projects you get to the point where all you can do is try to hide the mistake or cover it or make it into something new, which is a creative problem-solving challenge. But with Rainbow Loom, and something like macrame or beading, most of the time you can go back and restart from an earlier phase. I know one of my most problematic projects was a lace scarf I tried to knit, and I worked at it for years before I found out there was an error in the pattern. But there were a few times, more than once, where I lost my stitch, I lost my place in the pattern or on the scarf, and ended up having to restart like 20, 30, 40 rows in. It can be frustrating. But I'm hoping as you're watching that this is going smoothly for you and you're still with me here at this point. And I promise your zebra is going to look really cool and you can be very proud of him when he's done. And this is also, as I was suggesting, a pattern that can adapt to some other animals like the giraffe I'm going to do. But really, if you want to make a horse or a cow, 3D horse or cow, this is pretty close to where I would start with it too, I think. Okay, that was our 2 black, and we're going to get the other 2 legs ready. And when you lay them down, we're going to just check here. So this was, I can see this is on the bottom. So here's my tail, here are my legs. I'm pulling them straight down on the side that where they're closest to the end. And that means that that's going to be, I'm going to have to line up my next legs with those. And we're going to attach them as we attach the first one. Put it on and then I'll hold it up so you can see a little bit better. You can take it off of the hook and attach it with your fingers if that is easier for you. Okay, so this was on the bottom part, not the bottommost peg, but the one next up on the side and the one above that. So now that they're in line, we can secure it by looping it in on either side. So bring those black bands over the white bands on either side of the leg. We're getting close to the end of the body, so we can extend this to the neck, and then it'll be the face to make, and then we'll do the mane. We're gonna go to 2 more rows of white. So lay out single white bands all the way across, all the way around. It's gonna be a little bit thick again. Let's bring the bottom bands over the top ones. Just be careful that you don't lose any as you're going around near the legs there. I like how nicely these things turn in the hand. And the white ones around the legs. And I think I'm going to do it this row. You can do one more row of white first if you want, but I think I'm going to pull the legs through now. So I'm going to go to the underside, put my hook through part of that limb, and pull it carefully through. I think it does work better when you do one extra row, but it also makes it a little bit thicker and more likely to pop off. So you have to do it carefully and sort of quickly, like before you do a ton of rows. Pull that through. Okay, our body's coming along. Let's do the next row of white. I'm going to do 10 more minutes today before I take a break, and then I'll be continuing this video a little bit later, but I think I would like to get the body part of this done, if nothing else. Maybe the neck too. Maybe I'll even do this a little bit longer, but let's see how we feel in a couple minutes. Okay, loop up. I'm also expecting a potential interruption soon. So if I cut out suddenly, my apologies. I will get back to you. I will continue as soon as I can without interruption. Let's push that all down. And we're going to string this together a little. So let me just consult my picture here. Flags, nothing else. Okay, we are going to just make sure we're looking at this the right way. Okay, we are going to take the, okay, let's turn it so that the legs are pointed down. And we're gonna go to the bottom of the loom here. And we are gonna take, I'm trying to remember how I did this. One of the bands up onto the next peg and one onto the peg above that. And take the bottom band on either of those side pegs and loop it over. And then we're going to take the next setup and carry it onto the peg above and repeat on the other side so that we will only have 5 pegs going now. Bring the bottom ones over and bring the bottom ones over. So now we're on to our neck phase there. It's going to be 2 black, or 2 rows of black rather. So we're going to go across the 5 pegs that are still in use here. You're probably celebrating now. I know I was. It's like, okay, not as many loops to loop. And grab your hook, pull the bottom white ones up over the black. And we'll be doing another row of black in just a second. Pull it down a little bit. Okay, back over the same pegs. Loop up again. And we're going to do 2 rows of white. So very same thing. Push that down a little bit. And another one of white. Loop up. Push down in just a second here. Okay, so this is what we've got so far, and we are up to here. So we need 2 more of black, 2 more rows of black next. We're getting there. We're almost there. Stay with me. Just as I said, these are the shorter, smaller rows, and there aren't as many on the neck as on the body. Let's wait till I get to my giraffe, huh? Another black. And one more white. Oh, hold on. Yeah, one more white, and then we'll be ready to make and add our mouth. Just check. Let's look in here. These are our two blacks, so the next one will be white, yes. Let's push that all down, and you can set it on the side for the moment. We're going to go to the 3-row loom. Gonna get some gray and some pink. If you want pink for the mouth, you can use the pink in there, or red if you prefer. We are gonna count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pegs from the bottom of the loom, and take a doubled over single, place it there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that will go down to the 5th peg from the bottom. 6. And we're going to come down on either side from that 6th peg from the bottom. Sorry, it sort of blends in here with the color of the loom, but I'll hold it up for you in a minute. We're going to come down 4 times, I believe, on either side, so that you'll end at the peg above the center, or above the bottommost peg. You'll end at the 2nd peg from the bottom. These bands I have are like crazy tight, and they snap easily, but they're the only gray bands that I have or could find at short notice, so for long notice. So this is what I've done so far. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop before you get to the bottommost peg. And in the middle, you'll come to the 5th peg from the bottom with 1 double over single, and then I'm switching to pink here. I'm going to come down right to the bottom of the loom with doubled over single pinks. You could even bring them over 3 times, like triple it, if you want it to be extra tight. What's going to happen is the bottom part's going to end up a little bit looser than the top part, which is why we're going to have an extra set of bands on the top part of the jaw. So when I made mine, the top part fell a little bit short. I'll show you here. You can see the top doesn't go quite as far, and that's okay. I kind of wove it together so it's a little tighter. But we're going to try and make them a little more even this time. Doubled over single gray from the 2nd peg from the bottom on the side to the bottommost center peg. And repeat on the other side. Nice tight cap band on the very bottommost peg. 1, 2, 3, twist, 4. I'm not going to dare any more on that one because these bands like to break. And then we're going to do some doubled over single triangle holding bands, also in our gray. If you've got a slightly darker gray, that'll work too. This, like I said, is just the one I happen to have. So one is going to go across the 2nd pegs up from the bottom. The next will go across the 3rd pegs up from the bottom. Make another triangle for the next set of pegs. And the last one is going to be upside down. My bands here. So it's gonna go on the 5th pegs up from the bottom on either side, and the 4th peg up from the bottom in the center. And we're gonna get under that cap band, and this is a little tricky, but might be a little hard to see there. But we're gonna get under the cap band, find the top 2, or the next top 2, and it looks like they are coming from this side over here on the left. I think I'm gonna try to grab them here so I can get a better grip. I don't really like working with this kind of band, but sometimes you gotta make do. And it'll be easy once we get this first part going. Carefully bring it over to the side that it came from and go back in. Oh, I've got an extra one, that's why. The next set is going to go to the opposite side here, which is where this one should have gone. I'm going to push my pinks down. Okay, and grays go to the far side. And then go back into that center bottom for the pink and loop that up. You can now carefully loop all of these rows forward until you run to the top where the bands are here. Push back your holding band on that last gray that's coming up. On either side, you're going to try and get the bottom line of doubled over single. So push back everything above. Oh, shoot, that happened on my first time through too. Okay, so these are not the strongest bands I have, unfortunately. But that's okay. We will do it again. So we're going through and we're grabbing those bottom 2, and in this case I'm just going to have to grab them through from where they were. It's actually a little bit easier to fix than the one that broke on my first run through, like my design time. Okay, push back the holding bands. If you feel like your loom is starting to get tight, you can release some of the lower already looped sections. And on the other side, we're going to loop straight up as well. Loosen some of these bottom ones carefully. Yeah, no, these grays are super, super tight. And we're going to put the hook face downwards through the bands on the far side and lift that up, and then through the bands in the center and lift that up, and then through the last set and carefully take it off. You can decide which part you want, which piece you want to have facing up and which piece facing down, and then we're going to be attaching this in a minute. Pictures are kind of out of order here, but we'll figure this part out as we go here. So let's take one or two white bands, and we're going to put it, I'm going to take 2, put it through all the bands on the hook. This is for our lower jaw. Very carefully, I don't want this to break. Make sure they all go through so that it slides nicely. But one piece doesn't want to go. There. Okay, I got it here. So legs are pointing down, and the mouthpiece is going to go on the bottom 2 pegs in line with the legs there. And you want the part that's showing on the back, that's the part that's going to be underneath. So if you feel that one section has more pink, you can put that on the top. We're going to make the top part of the mouth now. Let's go back to the loom, and we're going to count up 1 extra peg. So we'll go 7 pegs from the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Doubled over singles until the bottom, or second peg from the bottom on the side. We'll do that for both sides. This is going to look a lot like the last piece we did for the bottom of the mouth. Just that I'm going to make it one longer. As I said, this piece is going to be a touch tighter than the bottom piece on account of the pink bands. Although you might find if your bands are not as naturally tight as mine here, you might be okay to do the 5 sets, 2, 3, 4, 5 instead of 6. Oh, 4 sets instead of 5 because we're going to stop before that bottom one is straight. And in the middle, we're going to count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and come down with doubled over single grays from there. And this will go right to the bottom of the loom. And doubled over single from the second peg down on the side, or second peg from the bottom on the side to the bottom center. Repeat for the other side. And a cap band on that bottom center. So single, we're going to wrap it over. I'm not going to go as tight this time. 1, 3, 4. If your band is a little looser, you could probably do 1 more. And then you can use doubled over singles or just singles to create triangle bands. I think I'm just going to use singles this time because, as I said, these bands are very tight. You'll have to kind of judge for yourself if you feel like your bands are really loose, like really solid loose. You can kind of compare here. The looser bands, you might not need as many or as much tension. Upside down triangle band along the 5th pegs from the bottom and the 4th peg from the bottom if you have done your upper mouth as long as mine. And we're going to loop up, so under the cap band. And we're going to get the doubled over single that's coming from my left side here. Careful, careful, super tight. And back in for the next one, which will go to the other side. And back in for the bottom one and bring that forward. And that just broke, so we'll have to get a new band there. And just to make this easier on myself, I'm going to release that part to pull through. And we're going to loop up on each of those rows. I'm going to start with the center here. But you can start with either side if that's your preference. Push back the holding band. And back to the bottom for the sides. Push back your holding bands and loop forward. I'm going to release some tension as I go because I'm really nervous about the state of these bands. And opposite side. Well, you can release all of this at the end if you want, or you can do as I'm doing and take some of the bottom ones off as you're going along. We're going to do the same thing that we did with the bottom mouth. So once this is a little bit looser here, you're going to put your hook pointing downwards through the bands on the far side, the ones in the middle, and the ones on the opposite side. Release. And I can see mine is kind of curving, so I want it with the curve down. I'm going to put this onto a couple of white bands. And it looks like I've got another broken band here, but hopefully not a critical one. Nothing I can fix too easily at this point though. So I'm going to come back to my Monster Loom, and I'm going to put the upper mouth on top of the lower mouth piece. Okay, like so. And let's loop the bottom white bands, bottom two white bands over the mouth pieces. Alright, next should be our eyes. And I'll just kind of warn you now, I did find with mine that they popped forward a little bit, and I did something afterwards to adjust that, but I'll explain in a minute. The eyes are going to go into a single black band. It's important that it's black because that's going to give us kind of our eyebrows here. And this is going to go, let's see, okay, so here's our mouth, and looks like our eyes are going to go right on top of that. So right over the peg that had, the mouthpiece. And I'll take one more white from underneath and pull it over to secure that a little better. And we can cinch this in a bit more once we've gone further on this. So that one's a little loose, so let me pick a tighter piece to go over. Okay, push that down a little bit. So that was our mouth, our white, our eyes, and then we're going to do white with black over the eyes and two whites next, I believe. Okay, so we're going to do a row of white. Let's see what we've got here. Goose downstairs. And let's loop over on the bottom. We're going to bring those black bands over. All of the bottom so that there are only two at the top. And another row of white. Oops, that was my pink. Okay, bring the bottom weights over the top weights. That down a little bit. See how we're looking here. That's pretty good. And we're going to close this up some more. So the next part, okay, the next part we're going to get this onto 3 pegs, I believe. 2, 3, yeah. So turn it so that the Mouth is pointing down. You're going to go to the sort of middle side peg and bring those bands up onto the peg above. Repeat on the other side. Turn to the side, loop your bottom two over your top two. Turn to the other side, loop the bottom two over the top two. One row of black, so this is just going to be 3 bands. 1, 2, and 3. Loop over, and we'll make our ears in just a second. So our ears, we're going to have a gray band. Oh, 4. No, I should have that. Okay, gray band wrap 1, 2, 3, 4 times onto 4 doubled over single pinks. So here's 1. 2, 3, and 4. We'll need 2 of these, but we can actually place this on right now. We'll put this right on. So this is going to go onto one of the side pegs of the 3, not the top one, but one of the side ones. And then we'll need one for the other side, and we'll be almost ready to finish the head section off here. So another gray wrap 1, 2, 3, 4, and onto 4 doubled over single pinks. Here's 1, 2. Just a second, I think I'm going to close the balcony here. See if we can make it a little quieter. That's better. 3 and 4. We'll put this on the other side. Oh my gosh, that is so much better. I don't know how much the voices are carrying, the noise is carrying over to you, but it's a little distracting here, and I'm afraid there's not a lot for me to do about it besides closing the window. Okay, here we go. We're putting on music. Music's always a good thing. Okay, there are our ears, and we'll bring the black bands through. So, okay, we're going to go under the pink, grab the black and bring it to the top center, and do the same on the other side. Turn it to the side, go under the pink, bring the black up and through, and then you're going to get 1 or 2 black bands. Get it ready on your finger. Put your hook through the bands on that top center peg. You can actually pull it right off if you want. And we're going to put the band through. And there we go. You could pull them down the other way once you have it secured if you wanted. We're going to put one piece over the other and over the top of the hook. And I'm just going to put this onto a C-clip for the moment. And we'll fix up the eyes, and we'll go to the next part from there. So you can see the eyes kind of bug out if you've used larger beads like I did. So what I did is and what I'm going to do, I'm going to come through the back, grab the band between the eyes. Might take a little playing around here, but we're going to try and get one of those bands, or one part of that band between the eyes, and pull it to the back, and that will tighten it up. Sometimes it takes a minute to get the hook through. Okay, so I've got my hook through the band that's holding the eye. I'm going to slide that to the back, put it on the same C-clip or through the securing band there. And it's okay, this is going to be covered, but you can see that it sits a little more nicely there now. You can draw your pupils on. It still pops out a little bit, but we can just press it back where we want it. And there you go for that. At this point, or at any point, you can play around with the limbs, stick some wires in. Same with the tail. You could also do something like, just before we get to the main part, you can put your hook through and then put it through the tail, and then pull the tail through just a little bit and put a C-clip. That might hold it a little stiffer. You can make some adjustments like that. So now the last piece, we're going to go to the double loom. If you don't have that ready, take a minute and pause and set that up. I'm going to get some of my bands out of the way here. And this takes a little bit of time to lay out, but it's not so bad after. Okay, we are going to have doubled over bands for most of this. We're going to start with single. You could use single or double bands. I believe I just used single bands here. I'm going to put a single white, the top side to the second one, and then I'm going to go down the loom alternating colors. Just check, it does look like I used 2 at a time. Okay, so I'll use 2 at a time, but that's kind of optional. If you want to just use 1, you can. It'll be sturdier with 2, and it'll give you that kind of thicker look. So alternating 2 of each coming down until we reach the bottom. I'll tell you, there's probably more than one way to do this. I just picked a way I liked and went with it, but if you have another strategy or approach you'd like, you can use a single loom and extend off of it, move the rows around to make it longer each time. I remember doing a really nice, somebody's really nice peacock pattern that was done that way for the tail. You could also, let's just get the next part going here. So now we're going to do doubled over singles, alternating black, white, and the first 3 rows are going to go straight to the end. But I was going to say you might want to have vertical rows. I'm going to be doing this more as horizontal rows. You'll see what I mean in just a minute here. But there are lots of different approaches you could take for this. This is the way I did it, so I'm going to show you what that looks like. If you find something that you like better, feel free to share it with me. I always like to know. Okay, next one is going to be white. And the peg closest to you, second row down, going across to the far end. And we'll have one more row like that in black below. And then we're going to start tapering it in a bit. You might even find that you want to do like separate chains and then attach them, but I wanted to avoid some of the weaving that might need to otherwise be done. Next one is going to be black, starting close to you and going across. And the direction will matter because once we start looming it back in towards this sort of spine here, we'll want the pieces to stay connected and not just loop loose. Now for our next 4, we're gonna do white, black, but stop before you get to the last peg. So I'm gonna go across once, twice, 3, and 4 times. And the next 3 rows will be the same, but we're going to switch colors between black and white for each row. Keep the stripes going here. The next one is white. It'll go for the same length. another black, and we'll taper it in again. You can also always play around if you want it to be a little more narrow. You can have the pieces not go quite to the end and come a little closer all the way through. Our next 3 rows are going to come in, so white, black, white, only to the 4th peg, so you'll stop at 1 peg shorter. And we'll have a total of 3 doubled over singles going across. Okay, wait again. And we've got 3 little rows here, and they're gonna have two double over singles going across. So 1 and 2, white 1 and 2, and the black 1 and 2. And from here, again, there are a couple of different ways you could go about this. I'm gonna stick with my original plan here. And I put cap bands on the top 3. So let's do that. So I'm gonna go to the far side of the top 3 and cap nice and tight. And the other black one, it's the 3rd one down. And the white one in between. Now you could do this with each of your sections. I decided to just use holding bands instead. And you can use white or black or alternate at this point. It's going to take a single, stretch it from the 2nd peg in on the side down to the 7th peg down on that row. Let's go to black, do the same thing. I'm going to try to stretch it one further, oh no, to the same one. And do that on all of the other rows here. And this is going to make your loom awfully tight. If it's getting too tight, you can kind of play around with where those are sitting. You don't need anything along the very first row. And then from here, we're going to do a kind of an overlap. So I'm going to come from the 3rd peg in, 4th peg down, and stretch a band from there until the 4th peg from the bottom, which is where that row of bands kind of ends. And same thing for the next 2, or the next one, I guess. The next one we're going to bring right to the bottom. You know what? Here, I'll move this one down a little bit. The idea is to include as many of the sections as we can while overlapping. So let me lay them out and then I'll just show you. So on the 2nd row from the side, my holding band's going from the top to the 7th peg. On the next row, I went to the 7th peg, and then I had another one going from the 4th peg down to the 4th from the bottom. The next one's going to come down to the 7th peg, and then I overlapped another band down to the bottom. And on the last row, I went to the 7th peg and overlapped another one to the bottom. I hope that makes sense. If your bands ended up placed slightly different, it's okay, as long as everything's kind of covered and cinched in. And we're going to put a holding band. No, we're not. I think we're good there. Let's just see. I only used 1 black band on the bottommost. So let's take one of these off, put that holding band back, and now I'm going to reach through the white Bring that black over to the side. Go to the next one. Push back the black. Bring that white over and inward sideways. And we're going to loop in sideways again. So push down until you get to the bottom 2 white. Bring them in to the side. And now we're going to loop up from under the black. Bottom 2 forward. And I will release this white band. On the next row, I'm going to bring my holding band over to the inside. Grab the black and bring it into the side. Reach in and loop in. I'm not sure how better to describe this without counting all the rows again. Go to the second peg from the bottom and loop your whites up. Then you can release another piece or two. The next row up, we're going to reach inside the holding band, bring the bottom 2 white up and inwards or over towards you. Push that down, reach in, take the next piece over closer towards you, and do that one more time. And then go back to the third peg from the bottom and loop up the next 2 black. I'm going to release another little piece of this because this is going to get tight, I promise. Let's go to the next row up. I'm on the 5th row from the bottom. I'm going to bring the white back over, bring the black over that and inwards. My hook stuck on something there. Reach inside for the next black and bring it towards you. Inside and towards you, and then loop up again on the side and release the next section below. Okay, the next one, this is your 6th row up. Bring your holding band over, loop inwards and loop towards you. So every other row I'm looping inside of the long band, and the alternate rows I'm looping over it. Back on the side and loop up again. If it's easier, you can do all of your side loops at the end, but this way I can release some of the lower sections as I go, while being sure that everything is secure. Okay, next one, we're now at the 7th peg from the top. We're going to loop inside the holding band this time, so under the white, bring the black in. And push back everything but the bottom doubled over single band, and we're going to carefully bring that in. Make sure that's on. Next one, shoot. Okay, well, that happens sometimes. Hold on, I'm going to sort this out. Getting distracted, too many things going on here. So what we do is we put it back where it was. That's basically it. Slowly and carefully. Trying to get my hook into here without loosening it up. And this piece should be underneath. Apologies. So give me a second and we'll get back on track here. As I said, this stuff does happen. Now, since I can't quite see what's happening, I'm gonna have to lift this up to fix it. If you're feeling good here, you can jump ahead a second, and I will be right back with you. So I want to make sure I do this properly as well. If you ever see anything come loose, just deep breath, take your time, find it, replace it. And most things can be, as I said before, can be patched up. Can be gone back over, patched up. Alright, I'm going to loosen that. The next row is going to go over the holding band. Loop inwards. And up on the side. Release a little more tension on the lower rows. We're more than halfway done here. This is the last phase. It's just going to be attaching this after. Bring the white over and carry the black over that white holding band. Reach in for the next piece. It's a little more awkward doing this side to side, but you get more space to work with, kind of. So it's hard to do this many rows lengthwise. Got a piece that doesn't want to go over there. All right. And there, didn't have this much trouble my first time through, but it's been a long day. I think my nerves are starting to go or something. Something's going here. Maybe my concentration. Sometimes at the end of a long day you start forgetting things. Okay, last four, we're going to bring this is the fourth peg from the top. I'm going to bring the white over the cap band or the holding band. Reach inside for the bottom two, bring that inwards. Seriously, if this isn't working for you and you have another way you'd like to do it, if you want to stitch rows on, make separate chains, weave them together, you can. What I liked about this method, what I was saying is, it just keeps everything together. So you don't have to do this in a number of different parts and pieces and attach a number of different things together. And it just goes very smoothly the first time, and in the end I think it looks really nice. Okay, so we're at the last three. You're going to go under the cap band on that black and loop inwards. Push back everything but that bottom doubled over. I think it's because I'm doing this from a different angle than what I would normally do. Trying to keep it on camera for you though. Which is a little harder to do if I turn it like lengthwise or widthwise, whichever it may be. Okay, I'm going to loop up on the side again and release another little section here. Almost done. Through the white band on that second row down, bring it in, go under, bring the next part in. Let me loosen up some more black. It's trying to tug from the edge there. And in. Again, and back to the side closest to you. Loop up on the side. Make sure you're getting those side ones, whether you do them all together at the end or as you go, as I've been doing. Make sure you're getting them because it will come apart if you don't keep those end ones secure. And top row under the black and grab the doubled over black single. Reach inside for the next piece and bring it to the left towards you. And continue your way until you get back to the beginning there. And then we'll loop up one more time from the second peg down up to the top. And you can grab a white or a black band, it's up to you which. Get it ready. Put your hook open part facing away from you down through the bands on the top peg at the corner. Grab that band or two if you like and slide it up through. As you're coming up, turn your hook so that the open part faces up and put the other side on. Pull one side over the far end and over the hook. Hold on to that tight. You can put it on a C-clip or your hook or your finger, and we're going to carefully release the rest of this from the loom. Very, very carefully, because I don't want this to break and to have to do this again. Yay, zebra stripes. Okay, so very last thing is to attach it to the head. And what we're going to do is line it up. Put your hook through the top section. Maybe we should have used a black band, but it's okay. Put your hook through the top section of the head where you'd like it to sit, so right between the ears. Grab that band and slide it through. It's not my lucky day. All right, so that one just broke, but we're gonna keep going with it. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna go through a little bit of the back of the body, and then through one or two of the bands on the mane, and slide the bands on the body over the ones in the mane. So these are going to go over and over the top of the hook. And then go a little bit lower, go through another little piece in the back of the head. You can go through two together if you want. Just try to keep it even on the back here. So we've gone through the back of the head, and then you're going to go through a little piece of the mane and pull it back through. We're going to continue to weave it like that. Now another nice thing about this is as you're going you can kind of cinch the neck in tighter, and I'll show you what I mean in just a second here. Let's get a little bit more. So through a piece in the back of the neck. I'm sort of holding it upside down. It's the best way for me to grab it here though. And then grab a piece out of the kind of bottom part, like the bottom part of the mane, and slide it back under. Lost that one there. What I really want to show you is what happens when you're getting close to the bottom. So we'll do a couple more. This is something you might have to play around with a little bit and kind of feel your way through where you want to place the different parts. Like how you want it to line up exactly. Now when you get to towards the bottom, if you want the neck to be a little bit stiffer, you can kind of line up the bottom a little bit higher. So let's go right at the base of the neck. We'll pretend that I've got a little further in this. I'm gonna grab a piece out of the mane, bottom of the mane, and pull it through. And at this point, or at any point now, you can put that onto a C-clip. You can even pull it through some of the bands so that it's sitting on the inside or the side. But that's the idea. You can kind of hide this inside or to the side of the mane as well. If you're having a truly terrible time weaving this on, I suppose you could theoretically just pop it onto a couple of C-clips too. And give everything a little tug and adjust. Straighten out what needs straightening out. And Marty, your zebra is complete. Alright, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and be sure to check out my other Madagascar tutorials. Take care.